And we are live. Let me turn off all chat, turn back on all chat. Maybe that will reset it so that it will work. That was kind of last minute color right there. Maybe I should have made it, like you said, black.
Black.
Ooh. You know it doesn't matter right now. I'll just do it for next time. I wondered how many people will be interested in seeing what we've been up to. Because it's not a normal first impressions like we typically have been doing. Let me go ahead and put this over here real quick. Looks like Drag made a little update.
Yes.
Which is cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You gonna put a tag in a link in featured profile?
Yeah, I'm on it.
Awesome.
Come hang out and chill. Today is going to be a bit more laid back and hang out-ish. Happy Friday. This is to keep everyone up to date with what we've been doing. We show other people's games all the time. All the time.
Yep, this is our game.
This is the game we've been working on for the past, I don't know, month now? Over a month?
A little over a month.
Yeah, a little over a month.
It's a very public development process.
Mm-hmm. Oh, let me do a little tweet too. Why not? Tweet. Bada boom, bam, boom, boom, bang. Got a tweet out. Okay. So I'm expecting, maybe a little less engagement, maybe a little less viewers. Just kind of just hang out, chill, ideas for the bot. If you have any questions about the bot. How's it going, everybody? I'm Drifty from Driftwood Gaming. I'm joined with T.
Hello.
My lovely wife. And if you would like me to play your game on stream, that's the reward for the $20 tier on my Patreon. Links in the description below for first impressions. Today we're not doing a first impression. I think we've done like 30 of them in a row,
Mm-hmm.
So I think I deserve a stream where we can chill on a Friday and get some work done on the bot. So for those of you who are interested in the bot, it is a Discord MMORPG bot called CyberBaron, and there's a whole bunch of commands if you would like to participate in the process of making this, or even playing it, or even a way for me to play your game as first impressions, make a first impressions of your game. By playing this, you can do that by participating in this bot. Links to our Discord are in the description below. So thank you to everybody who's decided to join us on this lovely Friday. Hello, Vero Claw, how are you doing? This sounds fun and different, although you only have your Discord viewers interested. Probably, yeah. Maybe some people who are interested in bot development will pop in or watch it as a VOD later, I don't know. But yeah, so we've got our Discord bot. You get into the Discord and you'll go over to bot spam, and you've got a bunch of different commands. You execute commands with an exclamation mark, and we'll start off with help. And this is not just a tutorial on how to use the bot. I'm going to be coding the bot. I need to put in critical strikes for the hero system today, and that's what we're going to be doing. But you've got all these different commands. If you need a long description of how to play, well, we've got a bunch of a bunch of stuff. This is some basic information on how to play, but I'll just kind of make it simple. You get credits. You have CyberBaron credits, and you use those to shop for things. And you could buy a first impressions with 1 million of these credits. Every time you leave a message in the chat, you get 2 points to your balance. You can see the balance has gone up. If you happen to spam a lot, you will be called out for spamming by CyberBaron, and then you'll have to type 1 out of 280,000 random words. So you do fight, and aluminous, whatever that one was, and then you get between 16 and 256 credits for fighting the anti-spam bot thing. And you could also, I understand that it could be hard to tell what's going on if there's a lot of people using it, and sometimes it is. That's why we've allowed you to private message. So you can message the bot and issue commands in here. So basically, once you get enough credits, you can start by doing Homestead. The first thing you do is you jump into bot spam and you do add role, and it'll give you the role of citizen. And then once you're a citizen, you can use this command, the Homestead command, and the Homestead command will give you 500 credits, and that'll get you started. You could use shop to see what buildings you can buy. You could buy a farm with that, so we would buy a farm. And with all of these buildings, most of these buildings here, you can use a command once a day called collect. And the collect command will let you get stuff depending on what buildings you own. So since I own 9 farms, I get 9 fruit and vegetables. I own 3 lumber mills, so it gave me 3 lumber. I own a couple gold mines, so it gave me a couple gold ore. And I own a couple of town halls, so it gave me a couple workers. You can use your crafting inventory to see the items you got with C, I, and V. And all of these commands are in /help, most of them anyway, and also on driftwoodgaming.com/CyberBaron. I need to update that. It's a little out of date. It's about a week behind. We've added a whole bunch of stuff this last week. So these are the items that I have. I've got a bunch of items. It's kind of hard to play your game fairly. Actually, I can't play this game fairly because I'm like the tech lead here. We've got a group of very, very talented people working on this, and a bunch of contributing artists as well. Credits are given on CyberBaron. Credits are given out at the bottom of driftwoodgaming.com/CyberBaron, driftwoodgaming.com/CyberBaron. We have our UX specialist, my wife T.
Hello. Trying to make things pretty. Working on a website, hopefully.
Our senior coder is Drag. He's on the Discord as well. His name is Axel, and he's a really, really talented coder, and we're very, very glad to have him as part of the team. And yeah, so basically you can do other things as well. Once you've got enough money to buy other things, you can buy mansions and castles and keeps. So if you have a mansion, castle, or keep, you can use the tax command, and the tax command will let you get extra credits for taxing them once a day. Drag has coded a very, very nice command called the explore command. So let's take a look at the explore command. Oops, I'm in the wrong chat. I need to put this in CyberBaron. So let's go ahead. Actually, let me show you what I see with the console here. I've got everything console logged so I can see all the activity, and I'm running this with PowerShell. Administrator mode, PowerShell ISE, and just change the text to make it look more Fallout-ish. So I can see when people do things because I've put console logs where they need to be. I'm using a couple pieces of software. I'm using DB Browser for SQLite to look at my tables, and for modifying them, although I can modify them with the DB browser, it locks the DB, and since it's constantly being updated by people who are using the database, I use another piece of software called SQLite Studio, which is good for modifying. It doesn't look as pretty, but it's better for modifying things. So I use this to change data on the table in the database, adding stuff to the new columns, populating rows, whatnot. I use the SQLite Studio to do that because it's dynamic and it doesn't lock things. And then when I want to just look at something, I typically have these up on the other monitor, but since we're live streaming, we'll have it up on this monitor here so you guys can see. I use this one to just look into stuff, into the database. In bot spam, I've used Explore. I think so, that's why it popped up here. Your journey begins. No one knows what treasures you'll find, what dangers you'll face. We'll say go west. And it takes a small amount of stamina, which is replenished to 100 at the end of every day. And you could use commands like rummage to spend more stamina and possibly gain things, or you could break your ankle. It's pretty random. Let's go south and rummage. Didn't find anything. Let's go west and rummage. Hey, wow, we got a good payout right there. We made 1,450 CC on that one. Let's go ahead and go east. And we're in a village, so we can talk with villagers and get different information. We could rest to replenish stamina and get some move points back, continue playing the game. We get experience for most of the commands you make inside of the Explore system. These systems are kind of independent of one another, but they work together. So let's go ahead and rummage. Or did I rest? I already rested. Let's go north. We can rummage. We bumped into a thief and lost money. Let's go south. We can talk. Or we can rest to get a bunch of stamina. We can check our stamina with the CS or check stamina command. You can go over 100 through certain mechanics like the Explore. We were going to cap that, and we could cap that, but we're like, why not? Let's just let people have, or why would we cap it? Let's just let people have that bonus. And I can continue working on the Explore here. So let me just finish it out. We've got 6 move points. Let's go north and rummage. Hey, 910 CC, that's good. Go south. Of course, I can just give myself money, but this is just to show how people would play it. We can rest here. Let's go ahead and do that. Go south. Get all that rest. Go east. Rummage. We got a wizard, 3 workers, 4 lumber, and a fruit. Awesome. And you can craft things with the items that you get. You can turn a wizard and a gold bar into a bunch of fruit and vegetables because, of course, you can. I think there's 11 recipes right now. How many recipes do we have? 10? 11?
9.
9. Go west, and that's the, oh wait, we get a rest here. We were about out of moves, but we got a couple more, so we can get a couple more moves. And you can do this once a day to get some bonus stuff. And our last one, rummage. Hey, we made out really, really well today. Actually, Axel Drag just put a new update to show you the number of credits you gained and what you gained from this run. So he sent me a message. Let me make sure there's nothing confidential in this message, because what we're going to be doing for the rest of the game, first of all, I'm going to look at the hero system. So once you've done stuff like that, you get enough credits. If you get 100,000, you can buy a castle. Once you own a castle, you can create a hero. So if you've created a hero, you can participate in the next part of the RPG. The next part of the MMO is an RPG. So it's, you know, it's got everything you can think of in an RPG except for all the fancy graphics. It's all text-based here. If you like Sanctuary, then well, it's very different from Sanctuary because it's a single player and more graphics with text. This is less graphics. We do pop-up graphics though. You can fight creatures. I'm already in combat, so if I say hero location, it'll tell me that my character Fardius Maximus is currently in the dungeon at the depth of 13. So I'm going to attack the creature that I'm in combat with. And I'm in combat with an enchanted slime, so I'm going to keep attacking this creature. And you'll see stuff is happening here. I'm dealing physical damage, magical damage. Also, the creature is dealing those 2 types of damage back. And there's 8 elements. There's fire, ice, water, wind, thunder, light, dark, stone. Your basic RPG staple elements. And they all come into play. I have an enchanting system. There's a way that you can buy and sell armor. We can change, there's a job level as well. So now we're out of combat. Let's just go shop hero weapons and see we're offered an iron polearm. Let's go ahead and buy that weapon. So we're going to buy that weapon, and now we've picked up a polearm. Let's check our job levels. Our hero jobs. You can use hero help to get more commands. We plan to, like I said, we just started this about a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago. We plan to make it more, we plan to make it a lot easier to understand and to use, and have a more extensive list of, a better descriptive list of things instead of just checking commands like this and seeing what you can do. So we're working on an app and a GUI element where you can check the status of your characters and your hero and all of your switches and all of your timers and whatnot. So we've got that going on. We've got other complex systems that are being integrated. But right now what we're going to do is check hero jobs. Is it hero jobs? Check hero jobs. Check job levels. I understand that it's going to be it's a learning curve to using the game right now, because I'm designing it and I still can't remember all the commands. I've made like so many commands, but we've got all these job levels. Hey Jeremiah Black, how you doing? Scam Likely, how you doing? Love your channel and advice videos. Unrelated, I'm making my first project, not my dream project, but a project. How long should it be? Good, good that you said not my dream project. I think your first project, although it could be your dream project, I don't think you should aim for that for your first project. I think keep your scope low. Make a game as small as you could possibly make it with the ideas that you want it to have. How long should it be? I would go for an hour. Make a game between 30 minutes and an hour long. That's a perfect first project to try to get out. And then once you've got that, put it on itch, either for sale or for free. If you think it would make a few bucks, put it up for sale. I think your first project probably should put it up for free with the ask of donations. Like, recommend that they pay $2 for it, but just let them download it anyway. That's what I've done with Dungeons and Driftwood. I've recommended that people pay $5 for it, but I let people download it for free. And that's the first project that I promoted, that I'm proud of, that I want people to play. Dungeons and Driftwood. Links in the description if you want to check out my itch page with the games that I have. Thank you for watching, by the way. Thank you for tuning in. You're already about at an hour? Okay, that's good. Yeah, make a few characters, make a good dungeon, make a little quest line, put a big bad in there, and give the characters some motives, and yeah. So we're working on the bot. Actually, I've been describing the bot. I'm going to make a video that's more clear-cut and straightforward, like a 5-minute video, which is command, command, command. Here's what you do, here's how you play, here's how you get into it. And then hopefully tied to a release video of here's the GUI so that you can look at your characters and stats and all that stuff later on. It's still very early. But we're going to actually get into doing some dev on it and looking at some code. I don't know if how many people want to see that, but I do need to get that done. I love working on it, so it's going to be a fun Friday for me so far. Glad to see that I'm streaming about Discord integration. You're hoping to learn about it? Oh, cool. I mean, there's a ton of videos on it out there already, but for making something very specific to what we're doing, there's not a whole lot of information out there. But you know, if you dig it up, you can find it. You can see we're warrior level 3. I want to change jobs, so let's say change job to dragoon, because I just bought a polearm. So let's do change job dragoon. So when you change job, it takes all your gear off, and you can check your gear. If we say hero, we can spell it out, weapon, inventory, or we can just say HWI, like so. We can also inspect our weapons. Let's take a look at the thing we just bought, the iron polearm. So I can go hero, weapons, inventory, inspect, slot 6, and it's going to take a look at the stats on that weapon. It's got 30 attack and it deals piercing damage with 100 durability. Right now the durability doesn't do anything, but later on durability will play a role in the game, and like the more you use it, I don't think items should pop easily. It should take a long time to wear items down, but I do think that durability when used correctly is good, but it has to be very, very lenient. Like it takes a long time to get rid of your weapons and lose them that way. Also, there's skills that I plan to put in to keep them repaired and whatnot, because you can enchant them as well. But let's go ahead and say we want to equip this polearm, so we can equip the weapon that's in slot 6. So we have just equipped the polearm. It would tell us we took off the sword and put on the polearm if I wouldn't have switched jobs first. Of course, the warrior can't use the polearm. The warrior can use most weapons, but I wanted to give dragoon something specific to itself, so only the dragoon can use the polearms right now. Axel, hey, here's our senior coder. Axel Rosetto's here, also known as Drag. He's messaging me. Let me just not expose anything he's saying here. Okay, so now he's giving me, so Drag is, let's go ahead and update this real quick. So he's sending me a new version of Exploration, and when I get a new version, I'll basically download it, and I'll take this one, and I'll put it in the right folder. But what I typically do is back up the original as always. So wait, where am I at? Folder? CyberBaron? Do I have CyberBaron? I guess we do right here. I'm going to put it in here for right now. It doesn't belong. Actually, I'm going to put it in S&D for now because temporary holding place for it. I'm going to take the original Exploration, or this one. We're going to cut it out of here. I'm going to... That's one thing that you'll find is very important when you're working on projects. Have multiple versions. When you put in a new version, especially if it's been not tested thoroughly, or even if it is, just have backups instead of overwriting. Make a backup of what you've got, and then you can put it in without much of a problem, because you could always revert back. So what I'm going to do is put this in here and replace the original. So I've updated one of the plugin files, the Exploration. This is entirely Drag's baby, the Exploration system. But now at the end of the Exploration, as you seen earlier, I was using it. This is supposed to tell me what I actually gained in total. I actually got like 4,000 credits, something like that. I did get robbed, so maybe like 3,500 something in there. But I got a bunch of items too. I don't know for sure, but that's why this is really cool. So when I put in a new JS file, I also have to restart the bot. So in here, I'm going to press Control-C to terminate the bot, and then I'm going to type node CyberBaron.js when I'm in the right directory to run that, whatever you called your main app, app.js, or whatever you called it. And then the console logs tell me it's making backups of certain tables, as another thing that Drag has coded a backup system. So I put in a little bit of notification to the players and myself when the bot restarts. It sends a message. I typically try to put all of CyberBaron's text inside of bot spam. However, I do allow private message of the bot. So we're saying like it's cool to private message the bot because sometimes it'll be really scrolly in here. It's too much stuff happening, so you can still interact with the bot in private message. And so now, since I already explored, I can't do that unless I go into the database and change values, which I can, but I think I want to just move on to doing the next thing. But now the next person who explores at the end of their exploration, considering there's no unexpected bugs or whatever, they'll be able to see what they actually got from that entire endeavor, which is kind of cool. Hey, there we go. Let's have Drag do it. So he's going to be exploring. He's going to go west. He's going to rummage for some stuff. You also gain experience. Drag put an experience system into the Explore system. So I was showing you more about the hero system, which is the RPG part of it. But there's like a land-owning sim game. There's a stonk market, which I haven't touched on as soon as we finish with this little section that Drag's showing you. I'll show you the stonk market. The stonk market is the best way to make cyber credits. There's two types of currency in CyberBaron right now. You've got cyber credits, and you have Baron bucks. And they're denoted by CC and BB. And cyber credits are the first thing you are going to be getting. Anytime you type, you get those. But then if you get to 100,000 and you buy a castle, you can create, yeah, it's a stonk market. We have 10 stonks right now, and the system is pretty simple. We plan to expand upon it. Oh, he's not done yet. We plan to expand upon it and make it more robust. Right now it rolls random numbers between -5% and +5%, so 95 to 105. And we're multiplying the base value of a stonk by that. So you can make money by investing your money in a stonk when it's like below 100 of its base value, and then selling it when it's above 100 of its base value. And if you just check them every now and then, you'll see the base values. And they're pretty, I didn't want to obfuscate it too much. So he managed to make about 3,000 CC from that exploration. And you could do that in the first day of playing. So that's a great way to start. You can join the server, you type in, add role, you do homestead, you've got 504 credits, or 502. And then you do explore, you can get up to 10,000, and you can be unlucky and get like a couple hundred, but you usually get like 2,000 to 4,000. So like right on the first day, you can start with 5,000 credits. That'll give you enough to invest in the stock market, and then you can get a 10% return on that every day with the stock market. So we can do check stonk, and it'll tell you the prices of these stonks: water, grains, oil, livestock, masonry, spices, textiles, metals, armaments, and gemstones. And I'll just tell you the base price right now: 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 1,000, 1,250, and 2,500. So once you know that, all you have to do is look and see, okay, water's at -4%. So if you bought it now, it'd be a good time to buy it right now, because it's going, it can go up, and you can make up to 9% return on your money, and there's no transaction fees. We'll put other more complicated mechanics in later, but if you wanted to make some money and you had a couple trades ready, for those people who have joined early, they are given 5 trades, but once you use them up, you only get 2 a day, and everyone just gets 2 trades a day, and they're not cumulative. So if you don't use your trades, you're still going to only have 2 at the end of the beginning of the next day. So it makes sense to trade and buy and sell. So grains is 210 right now. It is up, and you should probably sell. Yeah, Drag should probably sell those grains right now, because it is up pretty high. That is 5% up. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's the max right there, basically. So this is the highest grain's going to go, is 210. It'll go from 190 to 210. I don't know what price even. Okay, and once we put it in mechanics algorithms, some simple math to determine how much you've made. So Drag bought 3,513 grains, and then he sold them, all of them, and he made 63,000 credits profit on his return of 737.7 CC. So that took a little while to get the math right, and it doesn't work right if you sell a little bit and then you sell a little bit more and you sell a little bit more, but that's not the way we've intended it to work. It's to buy the amount you want, a large amount, and then sell all of that amount to cash out, basically. And the numbers will be accurate if you do it that way. So yeah, that's a big return. We also have a new, not really that new anymore. We made it, Drag made it last week. Net worth. We were talking about this command for a long time now, and said, hey, that sounds like fun, I'll put that together, and he made a command called net worth, and you can check the net worth of the top 20 people, or you can just say net worth of one person, and it'll tell you. We can see that my wife is in the lead here. I give my devs probably, I don't know, between 10 to 25,000 a day, depending on what they deliver. So they've been given a bonus, and people who report bugs get bonuses. I give credits to people who were reporting bugs, and people who contribute art get credits, and people who make systems to make the game better get credits, and they should be in the lead. Heartless Angel is just an avid player and spends a lot of time spamming and fighting off the anti-spam bots, and makes a lot of credits that way, and actually knows how to use a stock market, and was the first one to start using it as far as like non-dev players. And so you can see the early birds are definitely in the lead, as you would expect them to be. The game does have exponential returns, so it's sort of going to be like the people who have the most money are going to make the most money, but that's how life works generally. I do have methods planned that will let people kind of group up and kind of combat larger players, but right now it's just a numbers game, and I was going to create a siege system, but I got some backlash on the siege system. Nobody wanted to lose castles and whatnot, and I'm like, okay, fine. So I decided to make a new system, the Hero RPG system, where people will do their PvP fighting with characters, and you can name your characters too. So that's the stock market. Did we change our job? So let me check Hero. Back to the Hero system. I'm playing a character I named Fardius Maximus, because of course I am. And I just changed him to level 1 Dragoon. And we can see our base stats right here. And these are our adjusted stats based on the equipment that we have on. And I put on a weapon that gave me some attack, so that's changed. But I still need to equip my helmet, body armor, and boots. So you've got your weapon, you've got a helmet, body armor, and boots. That's it, just 4 slots right now. I do have plans to put in a relic slot, which will be the 5th slot, when I add more special stuff, but it's only been in development for 5 weeks. So right now we can, let's say, Hero helmet inventory. What do we have? We have a silver plate helm and a closed helmet. There's 3 types of armor. There's light, medium, and heavy. And leather is light, the plate helmet is heavy, the closed helmet is heavy. They all have, except for the first 2 tiers, wooden and iron, the rest of them have level requirements. So we've got our closed helmet equipped, is what this one says. So let's say Hero helmet inspect 1. That's our closed helmet. Let's say Hero helmet inspect 2. Required level 10. So we can't put that on yet because we're only level our character level. So 2 things to keep in mind. We have a character level and a job level, and they're different from one another. Your character level stays the same. Like as you level up and you switch jobs, you'll go from like level 3, 4 warrior to level 1 dragoon. But your character level will still be 4, and it will go up constantly no matter what job you select. So you can switch through all of the jobs and get bonuses. Leveling up a character gives you 1 to all your base stats. Leveling up a job gives you 3 to a couple of different stats. So for example, the Dragoon, when I level it up, will give me 3 extra attack and 3 different extra dex. And obviously, this is just information that you would only want to know if you're playing the game, but hopefully some people who are here also play the game. Wife is in the lead. I smell nepotism. Well, you know, a lot of people are going to think that no matter what, but she wanted me to give her like admin commands earlier on, and I told her no, because I'm doing her a favor. I'm letting her actually enjoy the game by not giving her like the ability to cheat. I can't enjoy the game that I create pretty much because like I have to be able to give myself 100,000 to see if the castle is working right, and then so I have admin commands, therefore I can't actually play. So on the net worth command, you can see I'm in 5th place now, but I've had the same amount forever, and I can just use a command to take all of my credits or / give all of my as many credits. So it doesn't really matter where I'm at, and there's no reason to be at the top because it doesn't mean anything. Wife equals Yoko Ono. She's gonna break up the dev crew. No, she's like the glue. She's great. Yeah, so, okay, we've got our hero, let's say equip, helmet. Did I have one on? You can't equip a helmet that's already equipped, silly. Okay, so equip armor 1. Let's see, check equip. Or no, wait, what is it? Hero armor inventory. What do we have here? A couple of splint mails. Looks like we're wearing one of them. Hero boots inventory. What do we have here? Just some boots. Okay, so we have something equipped in each slot. Let's go ahead and fight something. So now that we're level 1, blah 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 blah, delve. We're a level 1 dragoon, but we're level 4 character with an iron polearm. Let's try to fight a huge bat. Right now I only have 4 creatures in the game, but I could add more, and I plan to add more. I have 100 images picked from Akashic's art. Shout out to Akashic's, really good artist, and I like the usage of the art here. So there are pictures. We do plan to embed sounds and everything. So let's go ahead and use the attack command. I plan to add abilities besides just attack, and they'll be dependent on what job levels you have. So we attack it, we deal physical, magical damage, we also take physical, and we can constantly check our hero stats if we want to see where we're at. If we go down to 0 HP, we will die, be sent back to depth level 0, basically be put in town, and also lose 10 AP. Of course, I didn't code that 10 AP loss in yet, so there's no penalty to dying besides losing your depth level. And what the depth level does, we'll do a hero location, it'll tell us our depth level. It multiplies the reward you get, the Baron Bucks reward you get for beating the creatures. So the deeper into the dungeon you go, the more money you get for fighting off the creatures. It's a multiplier, actually. So we have plenty of HP. We could use the flee command if we're going to die. We don't want to lose 10 AP, and it just takes you out of combat. But it also resets your depth as well. And once you're out of combat and you say you've got 100 HP left and you don't want to get into a fight because you're probably going to die, you can use the camp command, and that will restore your HP. But that will also take 1 AP to use. It'll restore your HP and MP, but it'll take 1 AP to use. That way you can just get back into fighting again. We're still in a fight. Let's just attack this giant bat. I'm still working on all the numbers, getting the numbers balanced and whatnot. It's not too bad. I think I need to add critical strikes soon. So there, we got a good hit with that iron weapon, 55 physical damage, 20 magical damage. Really knocked him silly. We won that fight, and we gained 1 job point, 20 experience points, and 28 Baron Bucks. Cool. That's basically the game, right? You level up, you get more stats. You can also enchant your gear. I don't have quite enough money. Maybe I do. Let's look at the enchanting system. Let's do hero balance. See how many Baron Bucks I have. I have 1,000. I can get a baseline enchant with that. So let's say buy enchant. And you're given a random one for a prize. This one's going to cost us 1,500. So that one's not going to actually work. We have to decline enchant because we're offered something we can't afford. So we say buy enchant. This one costs 5,000. Oh, what did I do? Pressed the wrong button. Anyway, let's decline that one. There are some for 1,000. Maybe we'll get one of those. Same thing, decline. I'm going to copy this. We plan to make a GUI with buttons. So buttons will pop up, like so it's going to be kind of browser-based eventually. A button should pop up, and then you can say decline enchant or buy enchant, or buttons to check your balance, buttons to check your hero inventory, and then just like a profile page. It's going to take a little while, and we realize that, but that's the idea. We're starting this whole game inside of Discord, but we plan to move it to a web. But keep integration. So I probably should have started with like, how are we doing all this? What are we doing this? Well, we're using JavaScript We're using Discord.js. We're using Node.js as our runtime environment. We're using, well, I mean, your IDE doesn't matter, but I'm using Sublime. I think other people are using VS Code. But we're basically using, SQLite 3 as our database structure. We're using SQLize as our promise-based ORM. I actually wrote it out very nice. And we're using, so let me just read it. We're coding in JavaScript using the Node.js runtime environment, importing Discord.js as a module, that's the one I was forgetting, using SQLize to handle promise-based ORM, and storing the data in an SQLite 3 framework database. So that's how we're basically making it happen. It's a lot of code already. It's about 6,000 lines of code, not including models. We have about 20-something models, maybe 30 models, which are, if you don't know what that is, it's like a file that interprets the code into the database. And we're using SQLite 3, like I said. It's just like a bunch of tables. If you can think of a two-dimensional array, that's what a table is, obviously. Like Excel spreadsheets, but it's all data that's being stored over here. So like if you're new to programming, or maybe you've coded a little bit, you say like var equals this, well that's just one data point. But if you want to store a lot of things, you're going to probably want to put it on a table that you can reference constantly. Otherwise you're going to have scoping issues. So we knew that early on we didn't want to just use a Discord collection. We wanted for data. We wanted to use something that's going to be able to store a lot of data, because that'll give us a lot of control. So we decided to use SQLite 3. This was before I knew about MySQL. I mean, I'd seen MySQL, but I was like, I don't know what that is. But then when I started researching how do we store all this data, I found out about SQLite, and then I was like, yeah, but how do I code it? I'm like, okay, SQLize is going to let us code it and look amazing. And work amazingly. So I love SQLize. SQLize is how I make all this stuff happen. So we're going to jump into the code. I don't know, some people don't like looking at text, but some people do. So I mean, we're going to do that eventually. I wanted to go over the bot, where we're at and what's happening. Let me do the enchantment, and to show you that the random nature of the enchantments, and then we'll go into coding, because I have to add a critical strike chance by enchant. Let's decline that one. How difficult is SQLize, and is there something similar you know about? Jeremiah, SQLize is easy if you know any JS. It takes a minute. Like you're gonna get like, oh, I don't know what's happening, I don't know where to go, I don't know why it's not working, but then you gotta overcome that. You gotta just stay with it instead of jumping to another thing. And then if you stay with it long enough, it'll eventually click, and then you like, it's not like you get a little bit of progress every day. Some days you don't seem like you're making progress, and then some days you just like go off like a rocket, and you're like, oh, I just know everything. Of course you don't, but like it's kind of like there's not like steady growth every day. There's steady growth over the week. There's steady growth over the month. But each day is a battle, and then sometimes you don't get that progress, and some days you make so much progress you're just super impressed with yourself. Let me see what enchant that was, so let's decline that. Let's buy another enchant. I want to get the 1000 enchant and enchant this weapon. That's 1500, decline that one. Buy enchant. I used to make this take stamina, but then I was like, it's frustrating enough. It'd be better to make a list of things, and I plan to improve everything. I just wanted to get all these ideas in here, rough draft, so it's picking from a table and randomizing stuff. I love SQLize. It makes it so that what you would normally have to write like 5 lines of text-heavy code, you can do in 1 line, and it just works. It works faster even. And because it's using promise-based object relational management, it's like the code will run, but then it's still doing something, and it can start the next thing unless you tell it to wait. So you have asynchronous and you have synchronized. So asynchronous is like when 2 things are happening at the same time but not exactly in the same order. To break that down, it's like, imagine I watched a video, I can't remember which one it was, but they gave me this to help me understand it. You go into a restaurant, and you sit down and you order something, and the waiter comes and he takes your order and says, okay, you order a steak, and he goes to the chef, and he gives the chef the order for the steak. Now, if you worked in a synchronous manner, the chef would have to finish the steak before he takes to the next customer. So say the waiter goes to the chef, gives him the order, so the chef starts working on the steak. Somebody else comes in and orders a turkey sandwich or whatever. So the waiter goes and gets the turkey sandwich, or waits and gets the order of the turkey sandwich, but before the chef can start working on the turkey sandwich, he's got to finish working on the steak. That's synchronized. But with Sequelize, you can work in an asynchronous manner so that the chef can get the order for the turkey sandwich and start working on both of them at the same time, and then whenever each of them are ready, it spits the orders back. So that's why you want to use Sequelize, so that you can use the commands async and await, basically. Otherwise, what will happen is you'll declare variables, and then you'll use those variables, but it'll try to, you'll just define, it's crazy, because you'll define those variables, and then it'll tell you they're not defined, or it'll return 0 or null right after you define them, because what's happening is it's running through the code so fast, it doesn't have time to spit back the data from the database. So you can use it as an asynchronous function, and then use the await prefix to your function, and that'll let you make sure that the data is there before you're checking it. And that's super important, and that's why you just need to use Sequelize if you're going to use any sort of SQL database. If you don't use Sequelize, you've got to use some other promise-based ORM, and I don't know any other ones. I'm sure there's others, but you need a promise-based ORM, object relation management, language thing.
Mm-hmm. That's what they're called.
Language things, yep. Here we go. We get offered a green enchantment, and this is going to give us extra agility, do wind damage, reduce wind damage, and has a chance of being silenced. Now, this isn't what I actually want for my character. This is because silence doesn't do anything yet, so I'm going to decline it, actually. There's 8 of them. I'm sure I'll get one. I have 30-something enchantments, but 8 that I can afford right now. Enchant. I am playing my hero character fairly, if you can't tell, because I missed out on playing... I imagine at some point I'll have to save the row and then test stuff and then put it back. I'm trying to play it completely legit. That way I can enjoy it and actually play it properly. I'm sure you game devs will understand that you what I'm talking about. Here's a good one. Defense. That's a good one. Let's buy this one. I will decide to buy this enchant. So, okay, so we've been offered it. In order to buy it, we have to just use enchant weapon. So let's go ahead and do hero weapon inventory. I want to put it on the iron polearm. So I'm going to do, enchant weapon 6. Did I not do a text readout for that, or did I get an error? I'm going to look at the console log. I got an error. RI flicked bleed. Oh, I made a typo. Okay, so this is really good about Node. I love Node.js because a lot of the times they give you the error. This is a typo, and this is the line that it's on. So perfect time to just go check that. 2113. Let's scroll down to 2113. And I'm saying iflicked. I forgot to put an in there. So I'm going to look for R. I could actually do a search for that. So let me just go R iflicked. It's going to only be in one spot probably. So right here's our typo. It's supposed to be random inflict bleed, but let's search for any other typos. Nope, that was the only one. So I'm going to hit save on that with Control S. I actually have to restart the bot and reload it every time I do a change. There's a a module. What was the module called that just automatically reloads when you save your file? Nodemon. Yeah, but I chose not to use it because I quite often save in unplayable states and I could have some issues. So, anyway, let's see what happened. Let me check my hero balance. I may have just kind of took 1,000 for nothing. What's happening? Oh. So it took my money. I don't know if it enchanted my weapon. Let's say hero weapon inspect. Was it 6? 5? Hero weapon inspect.
Do one.
What?
Nothing.
It did not enchant it. So I'm going to just redo that, I suppose. I'm going to check in the database because that was a bug. Here's how I would look in the database to see what happened. That was this enchantment. I actually don't need to know which enchantment, but it was this. It was one of these enchantments. What was it? I don't know. It was one of these $1,000 ones. Let's look inside the table. Hero stats, because that's where I've got all the data for the characters. But nope, I'm going to look for hero weapons inventories. And check the weapon that I was trying to enchant. The iron polearm was right here. And it did not enchant it. So it didn't do anything, actually. It didn't set up the enchantment yet. I'm going to give myself that 1,000 back, because it just took 1,000 and kind of like crashed. And I always tell people to report bugs like this, because I can check on the console log to see if they're telling the truth or not. And quite often, it's 99% of the time it's the truth, and I can just reimburse people. So that's in here. Nope, not there. It's going to be the more tables you add, the harder it is to stay organized. But I do know where things are, for the most part. So here's once again, I don't edit with this because it will lock the database. But I'm going to do that inside of SQLite Studio. So we'll go to hero stats, and this is how I'll change a value. Like, I have to refresh just so that it's up to date, and you can see that it took the 1,000 away from there, and I'm going to give it back, and then I'm going to pass that in. And so now, if I were to check my balance, when you edit the database, it's a good idea to restart the server, but if you do a simple number, like one little data, most of the time it doesn't matter, and I don't need to restart it for that. But if I do hero balance, if I can spell it. Is it lagging? It's lagging. Okay, that's fine. It worked. So, okay, let's check to see if it got rid of the offer. Are we still offered the same enchantment? Because it crashed. So what I can do is, I made a table called Hero Flow Control Switches, and this is like where I set up booleans and store data. So I can check to see what enchantment was offered. It was the stone enchantment, which is ID number 1, and the cost of 1,000. So I'm still offered that enchantment, so I can just try to enchant it again now that I fixed the bug and see if that works. So I will try to enchant weapon, and I can put this enchant on anything I want as long as I can, provided I have enough credits to pay for it. So let's say this was weapon 5, right? Hold on. Two-handed sword, polearm. Before I do that, let me see. Hero weapon inventory. Which weapon do I want to put? The polearm, which is 6. So let's say enchant weapon 6. Iron polearm. Did it give me an error? No, it worked. However, I don't have any feedback. There's no... Oh, okay, I did do it. There's lag. There's lag right now. You've enchanted your weapon with the brown buff at the price of 1,000. Now, I was like, didn't I code a feedback for that? It should have been. So
Ew, the brown buff.
It's got the brown buff.
Yeah,
the brown buff is good. There's some lag going on right now. I don't know if it's the internet connection or if it's Discord. Discord did have some issues last week or a few days ago where they use Google servers, and I think one of them caught fire or something because they were completely down for a little while there. So it took the 1,000 and it enchanted that weapon. And how enchantments work are, enchantments will have let's go to here and I'll just just give you something to look at. These are all the maximum percent chance that they can get something. When this is the one we got, so there's a chance that I can get up to 20% extra bonus damage coming from a stone element, and it picks from 1 to its max value. Also, it could give me anywhere from 1 to 10 extra defense, anywhere from 1 to 20 extra stone resistance, and whatever else that I put in the database, up to 10% resistance to paralyze, and I can customize all these enchantments to do different things and change their price according to how powerful they are and whatnot. So I have 42 different enchantments, and they're all randomized, so there's replayability in that if you don't get the max value, there's always a way to improve by buying that weapon again, enchanting it with another enchantment. But once a weapon has been enchanted, you can't enchant it again. You have to buy a new weapon. You can still keep your old one. You just have to buy a new one, which is kind of good because later on when we have bosses and you know what you're going to be fighting, maybe it's a good idea to have a flaming weapon and I don't know, one that does wind damage or something. But anyway, we've enchanted the weapon. Let's make sure it actually did something to it. So we're going to do hero weapon inspect 6 and see what happens on this weapon. So you can see it looks a little bit different now. It's not just attack and durability. It tells us that we've got extra defense, and all of these, it'll read out a lot of things. It's like 20 to 30 different data points. I think 26 for weapons and 21 for armors. It's got a lot of data points, but if those values return 0, it doesn't draw it, basically, because I didn't want it to just spam the whole page with a bunch of it gives 0 agility, it gives 0 intelligence. So if it gives more than 0, tell it how much it gives. We actually got a very good roll on it. We got the max defense roll, and we got 17 out of possible 20 on that. So if it was a weapon, it could get extra stone damage. If I would have put that enchantment on an armor, it would have given me from 1 to 20% stone resistance. So weapons get the extra damage, armors get the extra resistance. That's just a design choice, but I think we got a good roll on that. That should make our next fight pretty easy, or at least for a while. Are we already in a fight? We're just lagging a lot. Who am I getting messages from? Let me go ahead and bring this up in case someone's trying to troll. No. Don't try to call me from South Africa. Gosh. I gotta block people. Don't try to call me from South Africa. Just stop.
Or anywhere.
Yep. Don't try to call me, especially. Yep. Ignore. Sorry, dude. I don't like that. Anyway, let's go ahead and attack. We got some lag going on right now. I can see that our magic damage is doing a lot more now that we have an enchantment on. I can see, yep, it says that I killed it. Is it just lagging? There we go. So I got a JP at 30 experience and 45 Baron bucks for that. Yeah, I had killed it in the previous one. It's a lag going on right now. Anyway, I think what I want to do is try to code the critical strike. So with critical strike, I want to give it a chance to deal double damage. So I'm going to go into the attacked command, and as a little design, for every command, I've made like one of these commented out lines that shows the name of the command, but like capital and space. So if I'm looking for a command, I can run a search for that, and I'll find it. South Africa? All my scammers are Indian. Yeah. We've made a ton of progress, Jeremiah. Yeah, I'm really, really happy with the progress, the rate that we get. We've kind of worked, we're a little obsessive on it, but I like that because it gets done quick, and we put a lot of time and effort into it, and I have a lot of ideas. I have a notebook here with like 30 pages of stuff that have already been implemented and I'm hoping to implement. So I write stuff out on paper, and I also make the tables, and then I start coding them and whatnot. So in our attack command, I guess I could read from the top. I'm not going to read it all because it's like 500 lines or something. So we're saying this is on message. This is a command that's checking on message. So if the message that's being sent is attack, of course there's also being the preface of the exclamation mark. So if exclamation mark attack is the thing that is being said, then what we're going to do is declare some constants. We're going to say the target is set to the message author's ID, and the user tag is the message author's tag. And we're going to start a blank string that's going to be our final message. We're going to get some battle info, and this is sequelize. So I'm using a line of sequelize right here. We're saying we're going to create a variable, and it's going to be changeable if we need it to be. So we're not setting it to a constant. We're setting it to a let, which is like var. And we're saying equals await. So this is saying if you can continue down the rest of the code, but before you return a value on this, make sure that you check the table and get the information asynchronously. So we're checking hero battle scene, which is it's an object that's defined over here inside of another plugin. So that would be in here. So we're setting that up as a constant in another file. We're saying this is what it's called. We're going to set it to sequelize.import, and then we use a model file. And I'll show you the model file too. You have to make sure your models are right. I have on a whiteboard right here written, check the model with exclamations, because we've wasted like more than one occasion days of trying to figure out why is it not working when the problem the whole time is not having your model set up right. So the model needs to reflect the way that it looks in the table. Discord is down? It might be. It's been laggy. It's been super laggy for me. Why is this guy still messaging me? Bro.
I don't know, he's trying to call me too now.
Like, I thought I blocked you. Is this like another account? Block. Block, bro. Why do you do this? Well, you waste everyone's time. Like, is this stream that important to you? I'm gonna go take a potty break. I'll be right back.
He's probably just a kid.
Yeah. I will never, ever answer a call live on air.
It's just a kid.
Let alone.
He's on the Discord. You said he's new to the Discord. And
Yeah.
Or she.
Yeah.
They don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah, let alone, like I rarely take, I will never take a just random call. You have to probably schedule something for me to be able to take your call. Anyway, I was talking about models, and let's look at the model. So we're declaring this object a imported object based on the model. We're sequelizing this. So you have to do it like this. You have to say constant, whatever name you want, equals sequelize.import, and then you put the location of the model.js file. I typically keep the name of the object very similar, almost exact to the name of the JS file model. I have strayed away from that when I first started because I didn't understand what I was doing. But after I learned, like, okay, that's a direct link. It's like the way the data flows through. It goes from the code to the model to the SQL table. So let's look at that, any of these. At the top, you're going to say module.export SQLized data types, and then we're creating an arrow function here, and we're saying return the defined hero flow control switches, or whatever the name of your model is. And so a typical naming convention that I do in all the models, and I've seen it done this way, that's why I do it this way as well, and it makes sense to me, is instead of using camel case like you normally do in JS, we're using all lowercase and underscores for everything inside of models, just to differentiate the way the data looks when you look at it later on, especially when you're trying to get correct error reporting. You want to know, is there a problem in a model, or is there a problem with the way you name something? So if you see it camel case, if you follow that naming convention, then you know it's probably in the code somewhere. But if you see it not camel case, but underscores, you're probably referring to something that's referencing a table in SQLized or a model itself. So it kind of makes sense to do it this way, just to differentiate. And so we're calling the name of the table right here, whatever you call the table, and then we're opening up and we're defining all of the columns inside. So the first column being user ID. You don't actually have to include, if you're doing a primary key that's auto increment or something, you don't actually have to include that. I do most of the time, just because I thought I did, and I just I don't know why, you do something, you just want to keep doing it that way, it's just what you're used to, but I don't think you actually have to. So here I didn't include the first ID, but user ID, and then we're open up these brackets, and you notice in here we're not doing any end lines, we're doing commas. So we're saying set up the user ID as a data type of an integer, and then that's it for that one. In fact, that looks kind of dumb, I'm going to do that. And then over here, for each column, we're setting the tag, and blob is like a large string that keeps text in space the exact way that it is, and it holds larger values in string. But another thing to keep in mind is when you do blobs, they sometimes have to be set up as strings. So that's something that you might have an issue with, depending on if you have the right npms installed or whatever. In combat, this is where you could set up. This is just all your columns, so you set it up the same way. If they have a default value, you use that. If it's unique, if it has a not null restriction, you put it all in here, and you make sure you use commas, not end lines, until the very end of this return and the end of the module exports. Everything else inside of the SQLize is just comma, 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 chameleon. You know what I'm saying? I did change it, so I'm going to save my changes. It shouldn't have made any difference, except it looks better. So this is SQLized. Now I've explained what hero battle scene. Of course, I was using hero flow control, but it's the same thing basically. And then I'm using a keyword, find one. This is going to look for a row. So now what we're doing is we're setting hero battle to the value of a row. We're setting hero battle to the value of what's stored in the row where we define our condition. We have a whole table that could have a ton of rows. How do we tell what value to set? Because we're saying find one, not find all. So we're saying conditions here. And it takes a second to learn the syntax of SQLize, but once you do, it makes so much sense, and it's so easy. So just remember that you've got to have these parentheses, and everything's got to be inside of these curly braces to define, like, this is different objects and whatnot and whatnot. And commas are typically warranted there. So I could put a comma here, I could put a comma there, comma there. It's actually better to do that and end them with the comma, or if you're doing multiple things, you space them with the comma. You have to space them. You don't always have to end them with the comma. But if you're going to be using hero battle row to do multiple things, and you're going to tie them with the plus equals, then you got to use commas so that when you look for the next part and the next part and the next part, it's spaced properly. A comma at the end of a SQLized thing will be ignored. So in good practice, which you see some where I don't have commas, like I just put in, because I didn't know that yet. So typically I've been going through and retconning a lot of my searches, I guess they're SQLized searches, a lot of my SQLized definitions to include the comma at the end of the where clause. And that's what that's called. That's what that is called, the where clause. You can also use something that's really cool called the operator line to search for specific things, like if a value in the column is greater than this, greater than equal to less than, if it's spelled like this, if it's like using capitalization or not. You have a lot of control in searching through a table to find the one thing that you're looking for. So in this instance, when the player uses attack, the first thing I'm looking for is inside the hero battle scene table, I'm trying to find the row that's got that user's user ID. So you can see target is defined up here as the message author's ID. So we're saying I need to set this variable to the value of the row that's in the hero battle scene table where the user ID is set to the person who's typing. It's not that complicated, but it sounds complicated when I say it like that. And then we just continue on. I use Sequelize a lot. Just remember whenever you do a Sequelize search like this that you need to preface it with await. Otherwise, it will define it, but you might check it before it finishes the... you might check the data before it finishes putting the data where it needs to be in that variable. So you'll define something as 10, and then you check it, and it says null or 0 because it didn't wait for it. It worked asynchronously. So we say await inside of an asynchronous command, because the on message is an asynchronous command. So we're awaiting for this to finish before we move on. So we're saying, look for this data, but hey, wait for that data. And as soon as the data is stored in that variable, okay, now we can continue on, because when we check Hero Battle, we need it to be what we said it to be. Hey, Sickly. What's up, Vino? What's up, Energy? No, we're not Lua scripting, really. I was showing you how to make models, which I guess is sort of like that. But we're using JS inside it. We're using Node.js, using JavaScript, Discord.js. We're using Sequelize and SQLite 3. 3,000 offline reports in the last half hour. So Discord chose
It's working for me.
It picked a great time for people to have connection issues.
Yeah.
I knew that something was up because it was lagging a lot when I was
Yeah.
like, is it not working? I'm checking my console log, there's no errors, and then it pops up, and I'm like, okay, there's some Discord errors.
I don't seem to get any lag.
No?
Yep.
Maybe I think they just have a certain number of connections that they can deal with at this moment.
Right,
There's
so
still
some people get kicked and some
some
get
people
scared
will
and-
experience
yeah.
things and some people won't, and it depends on probably the number you logged in.
I'm sure now that I said that I'll have lag.
Probably. Well, I'm glad that I've moved into to coding it right now instead of trying to show off the bot. Anyway, moving on, we're adding restrictions because this is when the player tries to attack the creature. And now I'm talking specifically on this command, but you can take these lessons into whatever kind of coding you want if you're using JavaScript and Sequelize. Even in MySQL, it's the same commands, basically. If you use Postgres, there's so many different SQL, I guess, what are they called? Packages? Libraries, binaries, whatever you want to call them.
I'm not sure what you're talking
SQL is actually, I mean, it's
Oh, a database.
yeah, a database structure.
Yeah.
Database structure. Const was, so we're doing right here, I mean, I'll go over some basic stuff because, I mean, especially now, all learning is self-learning, and people who are self-taught, even if you get like degrees, all your learning is going to be you teaching yourself. You're just in a classroom and with some like restrictions that you have to do this, you have to do that. But all it's self-learning. And having said that, some people skip past things, and some people, it's hard to learn everything. So I'm just going to go over the things that I've learned, the things that I know, and if I see something, I'll explain it. And I apologize if you already know this. When you put an exclamation before something in a condition right here, you're saying not. So this is a not operator, and it's saying if it doesn't find this row, because remember Hero Battle, we're storing the value of a row inside here. So it's saying if we don't find this row, then we need to do something else in here. So we're going to say set up another row, check for another row. We're going to say was hero created, await for hero stats.find one, where the user ID is the target. So if they don't have a battle scene entry into the data table, check to see if they actually have a hero at all. Have they created a hero? And if they have created a hero, well then that's just probably they created the hero before they were able to create the battle scene. So this is a redundant check. I don't need this anymore because I've added that to the create hero command, but this is redundancy and it's good to code this in case for some reason they got a hero but the hero battle scene row wasn't added. Here's where it'll add it. It's checking to see if they have a hero, and if they do, then we're going to say await. We're going to use the .create. So far I've only talked about find one right here in Sequelize, but this is another Sequelize command to create. So this is adding a row to the table. So we're saying inside of this table, create a new row with this target. These are our conditions. There's no conditions. We're creating it unconditionally, but here's what it's going to say. Inside of this field, this column of this table, of this row, so this is, sorry, hero battle scene is the table. We're creating a new row, and then we're defining what's in the columns of that row. There we go, I finally did it. So inside the user ID column, we're putting target, which is this message is author's ID. So we're saying the person who's typing, add that, and then the tag, put their name and their ID, create a new row. Otherwise, tell them that, hey, you have to create a hero first, use this command to create a hero. And then we move on. So now we're going to check again, something else. We're redefining hero battle, and I tried to not do this because it seems like we're adding redundancy and it doesn't look good, but I have to do it here. So we're not using let because we've already decided to let this variable be something. So once we've let it be something, it's not undefined anymore. But now we can change its value. We don't have to include let. And if you set this to constant, it'll tell you you can't reset a constant value. It's saying constant means it's always this value. Let means it's decided to be malleable, variable in the future. So we are able to change the value of hero battle, but we're going to set it to the same thing. But the reason why we have to do it here is because what if it didn't find it the first time? Then when we go into the next part where we're checking for a specific column inside of that table, it's going to return in combat, cannot find in _ combat of null. So we have to make sure that it finds it. So check for a row. If they don't have it, create that row, and then check for that row again. And now what we have this thing, we can say inside of that row, look at this specific column and see if it's not equal to 1. If it's not equal to 1, return and say you're not in combat. So this is a row that I'm using as a Boolean to true or false to see if they're currently in combat or not. And if they're not 1, not true, in combat, then tell them you're in combat. And whenever you do a return, that says end it. Stop the rest of nothing else after this is going to happen. So instead of encapsulating, this is a good way to code your commands or whatever you're doing. Instead of saying if they're not in battle, encapsulate the entire thing inside an if statement. Because then at the bottom you've got this giant list of elses or ends and returns, and you don't know what they're for. So if you're able to make it this way, excluding all encapsulation of nested ifs, do it this way. So see if they're not in battle, and then return them right then on that one line. So we've got a catch right here. We're catching them to see if you're not in combat, then you can't attack because you're not in combat. And then we do the next thing. We say, is it the hero's turn? It's another Boolean that I'm saying. If it's not their turn, then return immediately. And tell them and spit out, it's not your turn. A little message to the user. Hey, Vino. Something's going on with the internet in general on the East Coast. I couldn't play Roll20 last night, and R20 staff confirmed it was a Central Florida issue. Yeah, that's crazy. It's a Google data center that is having issue. So it's not just Discord.
Right.
Discord is paying a Google data center to host its data on SSDs. Maybe one of their rooms caught on fire. And who knows how many people are going to be, how many companies are going to be affected from that. So it'll take a little while for that to get sorted out. Yeah, it's not just Discord. It's whoever had their data hosted on that Google server at the time of the issue, whatever it was. I think it was probably a fire or something. Moving on, we've only scratched the surface of the attack command. We're almost out of time here. I'm basically finding more rows. So I'm gonna have to access a lot of rows in the table to do all the commands that I need to do. So I'm doing all of that. I won't go over all of this right here because it's the same thing that we just did. We're doing find one. So find the enemy data row, find a row inside of the hero stats table, find the weapons, armors, jobs, states of the player, and store all that inside accessible constants that I can use to reference the columns. So once I've done this with Sequelize, I can say player stats dot and then include the name of a column inside of this row to get specific data. So it's a really, really good way to control data. Like with these, I can have just hundreds and hundreds of data points with these constants. Otherwise, I'd have to declare like hundreds of variables, right? So moving down, I think what I want to do is just kind of skip on down. I've gone over some code pseudo lessons or whatever. I'm going to just try to code the critical strike. So where should I put that? Now this is going into the design. Knowing how to code and knowing how to design are two different things entirely. Designing something is like, how should it work? How is it supposed to work? What happens when? And coding is the syntax of it. It's like, how do I make it do that? How do I stop it from doing that? So you really need to do both when you're designing a game. You've got to be the coder, the designer, and if you start your game's done, you got to be the publisher, whatever, promoter, and wear all the hats. But specifically, here's where I'm dealing with the accuracy. So let's say if they manage to land their hits. I got to decide if, because I'm using dex, the player's dexterity, to determine their accuracy, but I also want the dexterity to determine their critical strike chance. How do I want to do that? Maybe I do another check so what's happening here, I'll explain what's happening here. I'm doing a for loop and I'm letting I equals 0, I is less than the player weapons dot strikes, and then I plus plus. So I'm running through this code right here for each number of strikes, because daggers can hit 4 times in a round, pole arms hit once, but like maybe broadswords hit twice. I think that's what they do. Short swords hit 3 times. So I have to iterate through each of the swings to see how many, if any, of the swings have landed. And then and each one of them rolls accuracy. So I'm randomizing from 1 to 100, and then I'm adding the player's dexterities, the player's base dexterity, and all of their equipment dexterity, and subtracting the enemy's agility to determine if they land or not. If they're blinded, then reduce that roll by half. And then if they rolled with all of that taken into consideration, if it's greater than 10, then let them land a hit. I think it's just about right, so I don't want to mess with it too much, but I want to change it a little bit so that I can include critical strikes. And I want it to be a simple feature if it's above a certain amount, but I don't want it to guarantee critical hits, so I have to think of some kind of algorithm to not just add and if it's above, right? So if they've landed their hit, it strikes plus plus. And if they landed no strikes, then I send a message saying that we attacked them, but we missed. Hey, Sazako, how you doing? You get to tune into the wordy, text-heavy coding section, talking about Sequelize and JS. You just got back from a job interview. What are you applying for? That's cool, man. Good luck. I'm trying to make critical strikes now. I want to put critical strikes into the system. Right now, there's no critical strikes, and I want there to be. So I'm thinking I'm going to use strikes landed for each strikes landed. See if there's a possible of critical, because I don't want, like, if you hit 4 times, not all 4 are critical. So it's got to be something in here. Maybe I'll go if, let's make a new variable above it. We'll see. I actually think it would work good for right here. Find out how many strikes they've landed. We'll say let critical hits equals 0 here. And we'll comment that out. Find out how many rolled high enough to crit. I'm definitely going to change this, but I'm going to tie together. This is a way for me to make it based on the dex, since I'm already using the dex to determine accuracy. So if the accuracy is very high, then we can call that a crit. That's simple. I'm sure I'll have to change it for balance. But we'll say if the accuracy is over a 50, I don't know, let's say 60, 70. How high should it have to be? It can roll 1 to 100. So I think maybe 75 for now, and I will be, 75, 25% chance, but it's adding all of these stats and subtracting the enemy's agility. Typically, I don't know, I want to make it, I want to let the player have a good number of crits, especially at the beginning, and we can tone it down a little bit. I think strikes landed plus plus needs to be above it right here, but for each hit that lands, we also check to see if their accuracy is high enough. If it's scored really, really high, then what we'll do is say critical hits plus plus. And then at the end, outside of this, because I don't want the hits and criticals to add up, so I have to subtract somehow. So it converts a critical strike, or it converts a strike landed into a critical hit instead of just adding another thing, because right now it's just going to add another thing. Oh, I'll do an else. So, wait. What if I go like this, and I'll say, I have to restructure this. We'll take this little section of code and put that first. We'll check this. If accuracy is over 75, then we do the critical hits plus plus. Else, if accuracy is over 10, it just becomes a simple strikes landed. Now where does this go to? This doesn't belong there. What does this one go to? This goes to this loop. Yeah, so this needs to be bada boom, bada boom, and like so. There, I think that's right. So this is opening here, the for loop closing here, and this is defining variable inside of the loop. And the reason why I do it like this inside of here is because I want hero accuracy to be re-rolled every strike. So it's not like, oh, all 4 hits hit or all 4 hits miss. It's going to check each one of them. And then it's going to say if they're blinded, change the accuracy by divided by 2. If they still scored greater than 75, add a critical hit, and that's it. It'll just do that, and then it'll iterate through each strike they have. Otherwise, if they still scored greater than 10, give them a strike, and that'll still iterate. So I think that's how we deal the damage. So now I have to just adjust for where I'm dealing the damage for strikes and critical strikes, and multiply the damage by 2 for the critical strikes. Of course, I might need to change something where damage is dealt, because strikes would be less. I would have to do plus critical strikes. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go down to where the damage is dealt. This is all, this is determining resistances and like chance to do stone damage, fire damage, water damage, ice damage, all that stuff. And also if they're bleeding, paralyzed, stunned, all the states. So I have to deal with all the states right here. This is all in basic attack, because you could have these things on hit. But when we go down to dealing the damage, this is after the enemy's killed. So where's the damage? Oh, here's the damage. Issuing the damage. So what we're doing right here is we're calculating total physical damage to be a rounded number from hero attack physical times the strikes landed, and then we're subtracting the total physical damage. I think I should just include critical strikes. I kind of wanted to make it say landed a critical strike, but then I have to code something different. I think it's going to look better if I say has critical strikes as well. Okay, what I can do is say if critical hits is greater than 0, then we will make an amendment to final message. And we'll say plus equals, and I'll just bold it, and I'll say critical hit, yada yada. And then it'll just put that at the beginning, and I need to add a space too. Critical hit, and then it'll say the enemy suffers yada yada yada. So that's good. I'll do that for physical and magical. What's up? Oh yeah, I hear baby. Okay, that's basically going to be it for the stream. I want to do this last thing, and then we're going to call it. 2 hours just flew by. It's 1:34, or no, 3:34. We've been streaming for 94 minutes. Okay, so how do we add this? We're basically going to do another thing. We'll say let total fizz, or maybe we'll just say critical fizz damage equals math.ceiling, veil ceiling, hero attack fizz damage times critical hits. And we will also go hero battle dot enemy underscore HP minus equals the critical fizz damage. And if critical hits is 0, then it will multiply this by 0 and subtract a 0. So it won't affect it if it doesn't get the critical. But if it does land a critical, then it'll say critical and it will reflect the damage. I just need to change these to add them together. So I have to add total physical damage and critical physical damage together. So where's it saying? Total physical damage plus critical physical damage. And that's pretty much it. So I'll do the same thing right here. I'll say plus critical maj damage. Of course, that doesn't exist yet, so I'm going to do this, copy this, put this right underneath it. There needs an inline right there, actually. And I'll say critical maj damage equals hero attack maj damage times critical hits. And we do the subtraction hero battle dot enemy underscore HP minus equals critical maj damage. Save that. And I think that's pretty much it for the player. Now the player should be able to critical hit. Of course, we could have an error. I saved with Control S. I'm going to press Control C, and then I'm going to press up and enter to just quickly do the things that need to happen. Save the file and reload the bot. And then over here, we can test it really quickly, and then I have to go. So let's delve into the dungeon, and we encounter a enchanted slime at the depth of 16. So let's attack it and see if we get any code errors. I'm going to bring this up. I'll put it over here, and if I get an error, I'll bring it up. I'll move it. So we attacked it. Of course, we have Discord maybe going to crash, so we might not be able to test it very long. Let me go ahead and do it. Attack, and I will just, not with 3 keys. I'll just copy this and paste it a couple times. It looks like we're missing. Okay, so we got a critical. We enchanted. We attacked, but we missed. Then we say critical. The enchanted slime suffers 60 physical damage from. Okay, so I have a little bug here. Like if the attack misses, but then it lands for critical, or if every time that it didn't actually miss, we got a critical, but because the hits number equals 0, it looked like it was a miss. So we have to fix that. So we didn't miss, we got a critical hit there. And it did 60 damage. It looks right. It looks like we did extra damage. Oh, wait. Did we have to critical hits times, so it'd be the damage times 2. Because critical would double the damage. So that's not returning any extra damage, that's just splitting it. So I need to multiply this by 2. So we just encapsulate that, put it by 2, and we'll do the same thing right here. Encapsulate this, but inside here we multiply by 2, and that will deal extra damage. because now it's critical hit, so that would have been a lot more damage. Let's also fix the bug that says if this is 0, final message, we could just say and strikes landed and critical hits equals to 0. So now if we didn't get a critical and we didn't land a strike, then we can say we've missed the attack. Let's do the same thing. Bring this over here. Control S to save, Control C to close, up and enter to restart the bot. It loads, does another backup, and then we can continue our fight because everything's stored in Escalate. So look, we got a critical hit. The slime suffers 102 points of damage. Critical hit and 7 points of magic. We're doing a lot of physical because we're a Dragoon with a bunch of warrior levels, but that's fine. Attack. Guys, I have to go. Thank you so much for coming to the live stream. We managed to put in criticals. There's still some things I want to work out, but I do like that. Now Dex plays a bigger role. We just destroyed him. We destroyed him. If you would like me to play your game on stream, that's a reward for the $20 tier on my Patreon. Links are in the description below. Thank you so much for coming. I'd love to have you on the Discord. Come help me test this bot. If you have any ideas, I'd love to see your ideas and CyberBaron ideas. Come in here and tell me. If you find a bug, you get rewards. You can actually get a first impressions without paying money. If you play CyberBaron, I'm offering my time. You play my game, I'll play your game. Hey, forget about it. Thank you guys so much for coming to the live stream. Scam likely, really appreciate it. If you have any questions about what I'm working on, I don't claim to know everything, but I can find answers when I need to find them, and we're getting stuff done, and I'm really happy with my team. Shout out to Drag, Axel, my wife T. Love you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you for keeping me inspired and working on this project. Sazako, thank you for coming to the live stream. Good luck on your job, on your interview. Hopefully you get that job at the IT company. Remember, if they're not paying you right, don't work for them for free. Tell them to suck an egg. I had a story yesterday from, I don't want to say his name, but he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy, but he's just gave me a big sob story about how this company in Germany is screwing him over. And you can't let people walk on you. Don't get sucked into a promise of a job. Like, hey, you get to be in the game dev industry. They're preying on your passion. You're worth more than their empty promises. And if they're not paying you, then they're already in breach of their contract. So get out. Anyway, yeah, don't work for a scammy company that can't find the decency to pay their employees. You'll do your own projects instead. All right, Scam Likely, thank you so much. Vino, appreciate you coming to live stream. Energy, thank you so much. Player Nitro, thank you for coming to live stream. Axel Rosetto, thank you so much, my dude. Jeremiah Black, it's good to see some interest in what I'm doing. I won't be doing this very often just because, you know, it's kind of like iffy. Who wants to see me type text? They want to see the fruit of my labor, not so much the time it takes to make it happen. But I did want to do this on a Friday. Have a good weekend, everybody. We're going to be streaming on Monday, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Jeremiah Black, thanks for coming. Anybody who's in the chat who was lurking and didn't say anything, still thank you so much for coming to the chat. Appreciate you guys. Veraclaw, Early Boys. See you guys on Monday. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye. Come hang out in the Discord. Like this video if you did like it. I want to see if I should do this once a week, twice a week, or not twice a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month, never at all. I don't know. I do first impressions all the time. We've done like 40 of them in a row, 30, 40 of them in a row. I don't know, 50 of them in a row. But yeah, more first impressions to come next Monday. Thanks, Jeremiah. See you guys. Bye.